Hi, Paul Blackburn here. You might have seen a recent announcement that we made. And basically, it was an offer to a small group of couples asking if they'd like to spend a weekend with Mary and I working on their relationships. Essentially, that event sold out in 48 hours, but for those of you who couldn't make it, I thought it might be handy if we shared our relationship success secrets in an abbreviated form. So if you can spare 5 minutes a few times over the next week or two, well, it's all yours for free. So let's cut to the chase and get right to it. In essence, we've observed over the years that most couples do almost exclusively one thing in the opening phase of the relationship. Now, if you guessed sex, well, you might be right. That's probably true in many cases. However, what we've seen, what happens in 100% of examples is talk, 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 talk is the order of the day. That constant communication is what allows us to form a relationship in the first place. It's the part where we discover whether we share goals, dreams, hopes, desires, and most importantly, values. At this stage, it's not necessarily a relationship, it's more like the finding out process of whether a relationship will form and last more than a few weeks. Not that we know that we're finding out, this kind of just happens naturally. So given that we begin to share our deepest desires, probably most importantly our hurts and our victories, probably our failures as well, well, a bond forms through that sharing. And that's actually the hidden process that most people go looking for when things go bad. Now, rarely do they find it because more communicating feels like more disagreements, more arguing, more stalemates. So the default position is less communicating. The resulting uneasiness that accompanies subjects that can no longer be spoken about weakens a bond that used to be strong. So left to survive under these circumstances, most relationships simply wither. After all, if passion, excitement, love and companionship start to wane, then everybody else starts to look attractive. Therefore, the number one secret in deepening a relationship is to get communicating back onto the agenda. Now I say, as a matter of urgency, not just try. Simply put, that means setting aside time where it will just start to happen. And we've found a couple of ways to do that. The most common and the most effective has been going for a walk. So we try to do that every day and manage it about half of that time. So that still means 4 or 5 hours a week that wouldn't happen otherwise, where we just are in each other's company and things come up. Next cab off the rank is road trips, and I reckon Virgin and Jetstar got a lot to answer for here because it's often faster and cheaper to fly, but we've learnt to resist that temptation because the lack of the road trip gives us a lack of communication. What we found is once we're on the road, it isn't long before key areas in our lives come to the surface, along with, of course, the opportunity to work through them. We've also discovered ways to deal with the subjects about which we would normally argue and quite profoundly disagree. And the key there has been to schedule time when we'll discuss these things. So these times are usually after work or dinner, and it's when the urgent stuff has died down a bit. The problem is it's easy to let these scheduled times go. After all, who looks forward to conflict in the first place? And we're likely to be tired and stressed. But 37 years of marriage have taught us that the sooner we get to the issue, the better. So you'd be entitled to ask, well, does that work? Well, the truth is, no, not always. But it works more often than it doesn't. Now, if you had an investment or a trading strategy that worked more often than not, if you did a trade and it made $1,000 or it lost $1,000 and it did that more often than it didn't do that, then obviously you'd be very, very, very wealthy. So wealth in relationships is exactly the same. We won't get it right all the time, even though we think we should, and when we get it wrong, we're mortified and all that sort of stuff. But we can get very, very wealthy in our relationships. We just have to put them first. Now, given that time is what we have the least of, then giving that time to your partner is in fact your most valuable gift. That's it for today, gang. I hope you can turn my words into relationship wealth for yourself and your partner. I'll be back in a few days with more. Meanwhile, warmest regards, Paul Blackburn, speaking on behalf of Paul and Mary Blackburn. Bye for now.